Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms. It's been a long time since I've done a video. Just had a lot going on lately, man. It's been a really busy summer. I just have not had time to do videos like I normally would. Hopefully that'll change soon. I don't know, we'll see. But today I have another book review, and this is for a book that I'm sure a lot of people that watch this channel are going to be interested in reading. I got this from ECW Press, and it is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't know it was broken. And this is written by the legendary Bill Apter, which Bill, if you're not familiar with his work, he is probably the single most legendary writer or photographer in pro wrestling history. I mean, this guy's work spans the past 40 years. He got his start in the 70s. I'm trying to get this screen fixed here a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit better. He got his start in, I believe it was 1970s, 1970, 1971. And he wrote for several different magazines. He worked for one main publisher, but through that publishing house, they put out Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, The Wrestler, and then he went on to work for World of Wrestling magazine, and he also did some boxing magazine stuff, and he's done a few things for WWE Network. Now he writes for OneWrestling.com. And basically, Bill is, I mean, you just can't estimate his importance to wrestling over the years. I remember when I was younger picking up Sports Illustrated and always looking at his articles, always looking at his pictures. I mean, I remember seeing Bill Apter's name all over the place. And Is Wrestling Fixed? It takes you through his careers, through his highs, through his lows. And there's several candid stories throughout this book about those that he rubbed elbows with, which is basically anybody and everybody in the wrestling world. One of the funniest stories is where Bill talks about him and a fellow writer, Randy Gordon, how they used to stage these office wrestling bouts. And one time they actually went, in the office, everybody knew what they were doing. They were staging these matches. I mean, the first one they ever had, they've really fooled everybody. But everybody eventually came to know that they were going to do this, and they were having fun with it. Well, one time they went out into the public. They had one of these out into the public, and Bill used fake blood on himself and horrified everybody around. It's just really funny when you hear the story. And he even came up with a name for it. It was the Championship Office Wrestling, and he was the champion. And throughout the book, there's all kinds of funny stories that pop up about this Championship Office Wrestling belt that he had and all the people that he took on in these mock bouts. Several well-known wrestlers and figures within wrestling. And a few times he lost the belt, and then he would win the belt back. Just really cool stuff, man. Just a lot of funny stuff. And like I said, these little stories pop up throughout the book. There's also some very interesting story in here that I had no clue about. He actually helped Taz and Tommy Dreamer break into the business. I did not know that. He tells a story about Taz, how he would follow him around. He thought he saw this guy stalking him, and ended up being Taz. And Taz took him and they became friends, and he took him and introduced him to his friend, which is Tommy Dreamer. And Bill Apter was instrumental in getting them their start. There's a story about Kurt Hennig, which I didn't know, but Kurt Hennig was actually very good friends with the country singer George Strait. And right before he passed away, like just a few days before he passed away, he was able to get Bill into a show. And it's just crazy because it was like 2 days later, Kurt passed away. And then there's also some very revealing personal stories that Bill had with Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan. He also talks about how he hooked up Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. It's basically because of Bill that those two met and went on to have the legendary feud that they had that got some national attention. in the book, you know, it doesn't follow a set timeline. It'll jump around from chapter to chapter, from Bill's early days to something modern to something from the mid 80s. And Bill gives you a reason for that in the book. You know, he talks about how he is somebody who likes to jump around chapters. So this kind of jumps around. I mean, it might be a little disjointed for some people, but, you know, the chapters, he doesn't go real deep into anything. You know, basically, he's giving you brief snapshots of things that took place in his career. None of the chapters are long. They're all very short chapters, but they all have their place. They all have their meaning, and I enjoyed reading about everything, even things that were before my time back in the early 70s, but, you know, before I was born and before, you know, obviously before I was watching wrestling. I liked hearing all those stories too. I think most wrestling fans are going to really enjoy this book, especially those that grew up reading Mr. Apter's columns and looking at his pictures over the years. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this book. It's not very long at all. It's like 280 pages, but there's a lot of pictures in here. You know, if he's talking about something important, he'll show the picture. And, you know, through reading this book, Bill writes it how he would write his columns. You know, it's like how he would talk, and he explains that. One of his bosses told him, you know, one of the first things he wrote is like, Bill, this is not how you talk. I hired you to write how you talk. People like you, you know, and that's how he writes this book too. Bill has a very humble nature. And really, you know, in the end of this book, you ultimately realize that he's a fan just like us. You know, he just got lucky, and luck got him in the door, but then the skills kept him there, and that's why he's had such an illustrious career for so long, and has been a mainstay in the wrestling world. But guys, that is Wrestling Fixed? I didn't know it was broken. It is out now. You can pick it up right now. You can get physical copy, you can get digital copy, all that stuff. It's available anywhere where books are sold. And I want to thank ECW Press for letting me review this book. I highly enjoyed it. Like I said, guys, I highly recommend this book. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Very enjoyable book. So pick it up now, guys. Is Wrestling Fixed? It's out there. I think a lot of you will really enjoy this. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Later.